Hello, my name is Trydar. Welcome back to the Subnautica tutorial series. This is part 5, and today we're going to be taking a look at the cyclops here, along with a larger multi-purpose room and this hexagonal greenhouse large dome structure. And I think today that will actually wrap up all of the main base components. The only thing left after this will be the rocket. So let's get started. So here we have our cyclops model. And we're going to start off with this today, because I know you've all been waiting to build this thing. We'll swing around here, take a good look at it. Now, I have not actually added an interior on this, because, well, I assume that if you're going to build this, it's going to be more of just a shell for decoration. But there is space in here if you want to add your own details, because adding in things like an engine and everything that's in Subnautica isn't really practical for Minecraft, so I thought I would leave this reference model blank on the inside so you can fill out the interior for yourself. However, I do plan in the future to double back on this and add a accurate interior. So whenever I do that, I'll probably just release a download of that. So let's start down here at the bottom. I think you're going to want to choose an appropriate depth for your submarine. So make sure you have the depth correct before you start building this. So the first thing is actually going to be a strip that's going to be 3 blocks wide by, I'm going to count this out. This is going to be 1, 2, 3, 51 blocks with a little 2-block tail on the end here. So in total, from stem to stern, it will be 53 blocks. And you want to make sure you get this right, so measure twice on this one. Otherwise, your cyclops will come out wrong. And you also need to start adding in the lower drive pods down here. And I think those are almost level with the back here. Let's draw out a center line here. And see, it's 2 blocks further back over here, and the front is going to be, how many blocks a gap is this? It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 blocks. And the drive pods themselves are how many blocks long? They are 3 blocks wide and 1, 2, 3, 11 blocks long. So that's 3 by 11. And you want to do them with this pattern here. And let's go over the front here so you can get the pattern for this and pan slowly towards the back down here. And I should measure some of this out for you as well. So this is 3 blocks here, and from here to here is probably, what, that's 6 blocks? I think this is going to be 5 blocks wide here, and pretty much the rest of this is going to be just straight white concrete, except for the door where the sea moth docks. Of course, we can't open that in Minecraft, so I kind of just drew it in. But if you want to, you can just leave that as white concrete. Not a big deal if you don't. And this back thing here is just 5 blocks wide down there. So it's a little slow to get started and a little complicated, but once you've got all that set, you can now move on to the next step. And I should note that from here on out, all the phases I'm going to be showing you of the cyclops are going to be 2 blocks taller than the previous step, as with all the previous tutorials. And I should also remark this block here, you could break it and replace it with a trapdoor or no door or something, because this is the docking area that you would get into your cyclops. So let's start around here at the front again. This is our bottom section that we just built, and on top of that we want to add this 2-block tall section like you're seeing here. Now, the cyclops is symmetrical, around the center line here, meaning that if you place a block on this side, you want to place the identical block on the mirrored side of the center line. So with that done, in this reference model, I'm actually showing you both sides. I thought it would be a little clearer if I did that. But here's going to be the front. And the sides here, you just step out the blocks like you see here. Should be pretty easy to replicate. And at the back here, you want to put out the support pylons for the drive pods here. And I think they're, what, 4 blocks wide? And 3 blocks thick down in that direction. And this also completes the drive pod face here. So it's just some glass and sea lanterns here and some cyan terracotta. And the same on the back here, just a little obsidian back here, but you can use black concrete or black wool if you don't want to use obsidian. Give you a good view of that. It's a very easy shape to replicate, except when we get around to the back here, because as you can see, this shape is quite complicated. So I'm going to try and go slow around this area. As always, if you need to, just pause the video and replicate the block patterns that you see that I've done here. If you get the back slightly off, don't worry. It's kind of a sloping shape, so you'll see how to fix it as you go along. And I'll also remark that these are for download in the description. So if what I'm showing you isn't quite good enough and you just need to see it for yourself, you can always download it and do so. So here's the interior. And it's pretty simple on the inside along through here. So we're ready to move on to the next phase. We'll start back here at the front. We have a little detail with a light behind some glass here. And I think you just extend the walls straight up from here on this next step along here. So this is actually a very easy step. You should have your drive pods back here complete. So I'll give you a good look at what the stern is doing back here. As you can see, you just kind of want to step things back as you build it. Like so. And once that is done, we can take a look at the inside here. It's pretty much from this step, you're just extending these side walls straight up. Pretty narrow down here in the cargo section. With that done, we can move on to the next step, which is similar. You just want to extend them up another block and then step out another block like so. Build the front like you see here. And the sides, you can see you're just extending the walls up and following the banding that goes along with it. And on the back here, we'll take a look at the stern here. There we go. And on the interior, it's just a plain empty shell down here. So we can immediately move on to the next step. And we'll take a look at the front here. I think this step, we're just extending the walls up from the previous layer here. That should be pretty easy for you to do, so I'll go over this step quickly. And just give you a look at the back here, because things are getting just a little bit more curvy and complicated in this section here. So once you've got that done, we will move on to the next phase over here. And down here at the front, we're starting to make the dome shape of the front of our cyclops over here. So you want to build out a little ledge like this. And you want to do this all the way around. And all the way back. And all the way back to here. And just replicate the pattern that you see on the screen. You should be getting a good feel for how to build the stern. And we're now getting into the part where we're starting to build up the engine assembly and the rudder. So I should measure this out for you. You should have a good track on where this is going. I think these sections here are all about 3 blocks wide. So if you've measured correctly from the bottom down here, from the last section that is 3 blocks wide, from here to the end of this is going to be 1, 2, 3, 21 blocks. So once you get that measured out, remember you probably want to measure that twice to make sure you get it accurate. And we will move on to the next phase, where we start building up the glass dome here. Hopefully you can see this. I should have changed the material on this, but it's a fairly simple glass dome. Just build it like you see here. We're stepping out up at the top here and adding some dark obsidian details around this section here. And to help you measure this right, this section from here to here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 blocks long. So that is an 8-block segment from here to here. And then just continue it on back, and I should measure out the next segment from here to down there is going to be 1, 2, 3, 18 blocks from down there to there. Once you get that done, we now continue to build up the complicated stern section down here. And I think this little section, this looks like 7 blocks. Yes, that's a 7-block distance there. Whoops, there we go. So, down here at the stern section, there's a little bit more detail. I think we get to where we add 3 more blocks down here. This is going to be the start of the propeller assembly that you can see down there. And there's a little gap here, and this is, 6 blocks wide? So, once you build this up, let me give you a good long look at it. And a look from the inside here. We will move on to the next phase. I think we're about halfway with the cyclops. It's at this point we want to start building the bridge. This is going to be the top floor. And down here is where you can stand to have the controls for your cyclops. Of course, it's Minecraft, so it's not going anywhere. And you want to build out the dome on the front like you see here. Hopefully you can see the glass. If you can't, this is 3 blocks there and 3 blocks here. It's got some indentations back over here. And it's got sort of a side detail here. that we're going to just be beginning to build up here. So let me give you a good long look at the front here. So you can replicate it as you see here. And a look from the inside here. And from the top. Okay, now with that done, you're also adding in the floor level as I said. So if we open that up a little, we have down here, this should be the part that closes off your cargo hold. And with that done, let's go around the sides here, because this is kind of a complicated phase where we're starting to add the side sort of fin things that are on the cyclops. And they go out, it looks like, 3 blocks from here. You can use the obsidian marks that we previously measured to help you as a guide for this. A little detail of yellow concrete right there. And extend the fin upwards and outwards. And when you get back to this section here, we want to start tapering it in. And build it according to the pattern that you see. And at this point, I think a lot of the complicated work on the stern should be done. And back here is part of the assembly for the propellers. Give you a good slow look at this back here. And build it as you see. I think the cyclops here is probably one of the more complicated things I've tried to explain in a tutorial. So hopefully I'm doing a good enough job of showing you and describing everything as best I can. So, going up another 2 blocks, let's start over here at the front. Give you a good view of the side detail. It's got some sea lanterns in the sides over here. The same on both sides. And we have our controls up here as well. That don't do anything, but you can just imagine that they do something. And here's the view from the top. And I would imagine in here, if you want to make it a little bit more like Subnautica, you can add partition walls that would go across here. This would be the main cargo area, and I think somewhere back here, you can just pick a random point if you want to add something that looks like an engine. I didn't really add one of those because I figure you might want to make just the entire thing a large storage room, really. Because if you wanted to have sort of a base that's away from your main base, you could build this somewhere in your world. You can always build more than one if you so choose. So let's continue on with the side fin things here. They've got some lights in them, some glass, surrounded by a ring of yellow concrete. And up here, we've got some details in the cyan terracotta band. It goes like that. And you're just extending that upwards and outwards 1 block. And build the back like you see here. Got a little detail of some lights back here. And just swing everything back and blend it in as you get towards the propeller assembly. And let me give you a good slow look at all of this here. Now it looks very complicated, but remember we're only going up in 2-block segments. So this should be easy enough for you to replicate. And it's all symmetrical on both sides, so that's going to be the same along there. So let's move on to the next phase. And I believe this phase completes the side details here. Give you a good slow look at this. Around the front here. And around the top. And I believe we're almost to the section where we're going to be putting the roof on this in another phase or two. And this will complete our bridge over here. And the interior is plain, so we will just focus on the exterior. We finish surrounding these lights here with yellow concrete and cyan terracotta. And you want to start going and blending this in. The 3 blocks we went out, you're now going to go back in. And on the next phase, we're going to be adding the top of the submarine here. So you just want to build all of that as straight white concrete all the way back. And use the guides that I carefully marked out for these obsidian details. Use these as markers to help you get the numbering of the sections right back here. Give you a good look at this. And I think back here is also when we want to start adding in this banding of cyan terracotta that we have going on back here. Should measure that out from the end of this one here to back here. That's going to be what, 7 blocks? And just build it out like you see. Back here, we're starting to get to the point where we're almost finished building the propeller assembly. We have our turbine blades back here. And I mean, well, it's Minecraft. These are as detailed as you can get for turbine blades. Give you a good look at this along here and from the top. Now go over this from the top here. And we will move on to the next phase here. We've only got a couple left, and then we will be finished with the cyclops. So for the dome, you just want to kind of do sort of like from here, the sections down here and up here are mirrored, so they're the same. So once you've got that built, you can use that as a guide to help you build the rest of the glass dome out here. And give you a view from the top here. With all the translucent glass, it's a little hard to see. And I think we finished our fins on the side here. So you're just taking that straight back from here. Straight back to the sides back here. And once again, a long, slow look around the back here. Part here with the cyan terracotta. And I think what is now just about the finished propeller assembly. It goes out a few more blocks back here for the rudder. And a view along the top here. All right, let's move on to the next one. This one should see the completion of the glass dome around the front here. And just, it's kind of a very simple face. We just got some white concrete that you're stepping in from the previous sections to get to the point where we're making the roof over this section here for the pressure hull. And you just step all that up like this and carry it all the way back till you get to around here. And once again, use the side details that I've added along here to help you get the measurements right for all of this. If you're off a block or two, you're probably not going to notice, so it's not too big of a deal. I know it's a very complicated shape, but the best way to describe it to you is simply to show it to you. And I believe we have the finished tail assembly done back here. And give you a good view of that. All right, we've got just a couple of phases left to go. We're almost done with the cyclops. So, where do we leave off? We left off over here, so this section and this section are the next phases. So you're just sort of rounding the entire submarine off and adding in the white concrete like you see here. And then a band of cyan terracotta on top of that for the conning tower. Is going to be along here. And let's see, how can you measure that? This is one of these things I should measure out for you. I think from here to back down here is going to be 1, 2, 3, 36 blocks. So once you get that done, just sort of round everything off and build it like you see here. I don't think there's anything more to do on the tail section down there. We finished that off, so we're just on the last central bit of the submarine here. All right, the last section here is going to be the topmost portion of the conning tower. It's just a bit of cyan terracotta and yellow concrete and white concrete. Just stack it on top of the previous sections and round off the end like you see here. And once that is done, we have the last phase, which is 2 more blocks here and then this little bit here. So there is this section here. And immediately on top of that, just stack this here, which is going to be the antenna cluster for the submarine. And give you a look at this around both sides. It's the same on both sides, so once you put that on top, you now have a completed Cyclops submarine. I imagine this has taken you quite a while to build, so I hope you're pleased with it. I'm sure as long as it's going to take you to build, it probably took me about the same time to design it in the first place. because getting all these complicated shapes right and doing it by hand took quite a while. So I think the next thing we want to describe is going to be the large multi-purpose room design I made, which is going to be this thing here, along with the optional glass dome that goes on top of it. And here's a model with all the glass in it and the glass dome. Let's go inside and take a look. There we go. So if you ever wanted to have a larger multi-purpose room, if you think your current rooms are too small, you can build this model and add it to your base. I think if you build this and have it with the glass and be underwater and like a warm ocean biome with all the coral around it, it should look really neat. I think you'll really enjoy that one. Same goes for the next one we'll take a look at after that. So where'd I put that? It's over here. And the format is going to be the same that we've done with the previous multi-purpose rooms. We will start down here at the bottom with the feet. And they're just standard feet that I've shown you how to build before. And I suppose I should really measure some of this out, because from here I'm going to be showing you how to build half of this. Because if you build it on a center line, add these same blocks on this side, you want to place on this side, just like I said with the submarine. So once that is done, I think what would be the best way to measure this out? Let's see, you probably just actually want to draw a center line from the bottom here. And once you've done that, I think down here, the feet are going to be 3 blocks out from the center line. And then from there, how far apart are they from each other? Let's see, the center line will be around here. We'll have our 3 blocks. So if we want to measure from here down to the same side on the other end down here, let's measure. It's going to be, that's going to be 1, 2, 3, 27 blocks. Should be that distance. So once you're done with that, you can now add in the legs that you see here. They are all going to be 2 by 2. And space them out like you see here. I think I forgot to cover the spacing over here for the things here. I think if you just draw a diagonal line here, it's going to be 4 blocks from that point to that point. So that will help you as a guide to get that correct. And once that is done, we can now start building the base over here. And if you have your legs down here at the bottom for a guide, you can look at this and build it like you see here. I think this building actually has a 4-way symmetry, by the way. Meaning that you can draw your center line over here, and you can also draw it over here, and each quadrant you build of this building should be the same. Except like when you get to the roof, it'll be a little bit different, but when you're starting down here at the bottom, it's going to be the same. And down here at the middle, like so. And we'll take a good long look at the top here. Okay, with that done, we are now at the phase of the tutorial where we now go up in increments of 2 blocks for the remainder. So this section here, we're going to be rounding the bottom up just a little bit and build it like you see here out of white concrete and cyan terracotta. And just sort of round everything off. And that's all you have to do on that phase. I think that's actually the part where you also put in the floor. This is the floor design I made. It resembles what is in Subnautica, but you can put in a different floor design if you so choose. And as always, use black concrete or black wool if you don't want to farm all the obsidian. So let's start building up the walls here. Now, the walls are going to be a little bit different in some of these I'm showing you because let's go back over here. I'm showing you sections with the normal walls over here and here, which is the base of the room. But these sections over here, these are meant to represent the reinforced sections of the building. That's why they're done with darker colors. And also over here, I've added in a window. So I've used that as the reference model for this building, so don't let that throw you. I've just done that so you can see along here what you want to build. And you can choose for yourself if you want to have which modules put in the sides of your multi-purpose room. You can make them all plain or all reinforced, or my personal favorite, all glass. And let's go in the interior here and take a look at what you should be building around here. And a good top-down view, like so. All right, let's move on to the next phase. And it's fairly easy. You just follow the simple pattern and raise everything up 2 additional blocks. And I'll swing around here fairly quickly because it is quite simple. And you're also adding in the interior and the exterior lights for your sea lanterns along here, by the way. And then the next phase after that is very similar to what we've just done here. You're just extending the walls straight up. And on the inside around here. And quick view from the top. Okay, now the next phase over here immediately gets a lot more complicated because we're adding in the roof. So let's go around here. You can extend up the sides very quickly. Just add in a band of yellow concrete at the top here. But on the inside, there's a design I made for the ceiling in here, which is sort of like some obsidian reinforced arch type things. So I'll give you a good slow look at this around here. And the sections of these are all about 3 blocks wide. Good view from below. And a central glass section here. We'll take a look at it from the top. And also a slower look here around the ceiling section that we're beginning to blend in. I think on the top of the last segment, you just want to make a lip of cyan terracotta, and out from that, You want to put another 3-block wide ledge of white concrete and cyan terracotta. And when you've done that, it will start to resemble this in here on the next phase, where you pretty much just roof it straight over with concrete and terracotta, as you see done here. And on the exterior here, I think we're still extending it just straight up along the sides here, with a band of white concrete and then a cap of cyan terracotta. But with that done, we're now getting to the point where we're going to start rounding it over in the next step. But for this one, you just extend it up and leave a little 1-block section there. And build out the materials as you see done here. And I actually think that that should be there. Go. So we'll move on to the next one. And we're going to start rounding everything over. This is kind of like the stern section of the cyclops, except done as a dome here. It's sort of a shallow dome though, so it's not too complicated. There's some lights in the top here. So I'll give you a long, slow look at this. And remember, each quadrant of this is going to be pretty much the same. So you want to do this 4 times. And at this point, the interior should be done, by the way, looking somewhat like this. So from here on out, I will focus on the exterior parts. And from here, we're just putting on the last few layers of a cap of white concrete at the top. And on the sides here, you can put these little light sections. They're on the reference models in Subnautica, so I added them to my models. And let's go give you a view from the top here. All right, with that done, we now move on to the last phase, which is to add on just a little cap, cyan terracotta, a ring of yellow concrete, some lights, and some standard antennas on the top here. Of course, you can leave out the antennas if you want to. And if you decide that for some reason you're crazy enough to want to stack these modules on top of each other, you'll have to refer back to the previous tutorials where I discussed how to build the smaller multi-purpose rooms stacked, and you will want to do that in a similar way. Okay, so with that done, let me show you, if you don't like that other dome, but you want to put a dome like the glass domes that are in the Below Zero expansion here, you can do so. So let's go back over here for a moment and let me illustrate to you where you're going to want to start building the glass dome. I think it's going to be right here at the band where there's going to be yellow concrete. So if you've been building the yellow concrete, you can see that we did it right there. So immediately above that, instead of doing the next phase, you want to start building a hollow ring of white concrete. And you want to do it according to this shape here. And I'm just going to sort of hover over it and let you look at it. It should fit straight on the top of your building, but it's 2 blocks wide at most sections. It's a little thin here on the side there. But once you've got that, there's only a couple of phases left to go. 3 of them. So we want to start building out the dome along here. Let's go around the sides here. Now I've changed all the glass over here to cobblestone so you can see it better, but this is supposed to be glass, remember? So we've got our white concrete here, which represents the structural ribbing for our glass dome. And put in glass where the cobblestone is. Let me show you on the inside here. There's a little bit more detail. It's kind of complicated. I mean, it's not nearly as complicated as that hexagonal dome I'm going to show you, but it's still got some decent complexity to it. After all, doing anything round and curving in Minecraft is always a challenge. Okay, so with that done, we'll move on to the next one. We'll start at the outside here. On this one, there's going to be a little ring of white concrete that goes around the dome here. And just build it out according to the pattern that you see. And a view from the top here. And a view from the inside. As you'll notice by now, the white concrete ribs they come in more than the glass does for structural rigidity. I'll give you a good view around here. I know it looks complicated, but if you need to, just pause the video and take it one block at a time. And with that done, there are I think just 2 more blocks that you want to add on top of that. And I didn't make a phase for that, so because all you do is add the last 2, which is going to be this here, so I'll give you a view of this from the top. And at this point, you should find that all of your ribs will meet at the center here. And you just want to sort of add a little white concrete cap on it. I don't think I put any details on the inside, but you can if you want to. In fact, that's probably something I should have done. But conversely, if you want to have even more glass, you can knock out the cyan terracotta and just replace it with glass. I will leave that step up to you. And with that is the larger multi-purpose room and the glass dome shown to you. So the last thing we're going to be looking at today, and then we will look at this thing over here, is going to be this sort of hexagonal greenhouse. Because after I was building the large multi-purpose room over here, I decided I really wanted a really big room. And that is what this is here. Except this time, I wanted to build it sort of on a hexagonal plan here. So that is what I've done. Give you a good slow look around this. I assume if you're going to want to build this, you're probably only going to want to build one of these. It's quite a large room. You can probably fit all the farms you'll ever need in this building. And it's got hexagonal domed ribbing here at the top. It's going to be very complicated to explain, but I'll do my best. So, without delay, let's start on that. So, the first sections down here are, of course, going to be the feet. And these are going to be 3 by 3 blocks with the little projecting sections down here. And again, I should measure this out because like the last room, this one is going to be symmetrical around a center line. the center line is going to be here. I don't think it's actually four-way symmetrical because of the ribbing on the top here. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's not. Let's go down here and draw our center line on the ground. Should fall between this here. So between that and the feet over here, looks like that's going to be a 4-block distance. And I think from this point here, like we did on the last one, all the way to the point back there is going to be 39 blocks. So it's quite a distance to get from there to there. But this is the largest base component that I built, so it's going to take a little time. It's probably going to be about, I think, equal difficulty to building the cyclops, I would imagine, given the complicated nature of the dome anyway. So once that is done, I think we can also draw a line in between here to help you measure the other feet out along there. Just draw a diagonal, and it looks like that's 7 blocks long. So once you get that all measured out, you're ready to build the support legs over here. I think these are actually the same design that was used in the moon pool. And they have the same little lights here down below. And once you extend those all the way up, you're going to want to build a circle like you see here, and just sort of take a good long look at this and use the legs that you've extended all the way up as a guide to help you get the block spacing correct. And then along the center here, there's some detail down here at the bottom as well. Okay, with that done, this is the point where we now start going up in 2-block increments for the rest of the build. So, as with the previous multipurpose room, you want to start building a little ledge and rounding things up around here. And build it like you see. I've added in sort of a ring of obsidian around here also. And I think the section after this is where you can add in your floor. Now for this, I made it all farmland. I'll give you a good look at this. But if you just want a solid floor, if you want to put something else other than farms in this building, you can feel free to depart from my design and build in whatever you so choose. And then also down here at the front here is going to be the beginning of the tube intersection. You've seen the standard tube intersection before, so I'm not going to go over this in very much detail. But after you build up the sides here, and curve everything around, and curve around the interior here. I'm going to be ready to start adding in the hexagonal windows on these sides here. So we'll start here and give you a look at the tube intersection. Goes into the building. And the windows are, they're inset into the building, just a block. And I believe they're also all on 2-block diagonals like this. But if you want to, you could come out and make them thicker like that if you prefer to have thicker glass windows. So we'll swing around the sides here. And give you a view of the exterior structural elements on the side here. And along the inside also, like so. Okay, with that done, we're going up 2 more blocks here, adding the tube intersection up here, and pretty much just extending up the glass windows on the sides here, and the support areas along the sides here. And build it according to the pattern that you see. And once that is done, we'll go to the next phase. Building up our tube intersection. This part should be complete here. Go around the exterior first. You're just extending up the windows along here. And the exterior elements along here. And along the interior here. They should kind of mirror each other on the interior as the exterior. So, this is the point where I ran out of room on this area, so we need to double around over here. And start at the tube. And it's missing a little cyan terracotta right there. So we will go along here. And if you'll notice, this section begins to mirror the previous section. Like this section here, once you get to this, you'll find that what you build here is going to be the same. Like down here and up there are going to be the same. So you just want to use that as a guide and build that again. And that's going to hold true, I think, for the next phase also. So I'm going to go a little quicker around this one. Give you a panning shot of the interior here. So the exterior here, around the front. As you can see, this section down at the bottom, you flip that and mirror it up here. Get everything nice and symmetrical looking. Same holds true for the interior. And then on top of that, all I think you do for this next part after that is add just a ring of cyan terracotta to cap everything off. As you see done here. It overhangs the glass on the edges just a little bit. And a view from the top here. Okay, now with that, we're going to, I think, just immediately on top of that, add in a ring of yellow concrete and then white concrete. And on the inside, you want to add in cyan terracotta and white concrete. So that's going to be quite simple, but once that is done, this is now the base layer of the ring for the complicated hexagonal dome. So for that, we want to build it like you see done here. And I think pretty much to get the glass started, you can just use the white concrete here and the glass and sort of just set it back one to get the ring after that. And then kind of blend it in after that. Now hopefully you can see the glass well enough here to replicate it. I'll try to go slow over this section. think I should measure some of this out. It's going to be 4 blocks here and then 3 blocks there to help you get the curve set. And once that is done, we will move on again over here and build out the hexagonal ribbing like you see. And you can use the hexagonal ribbing as a guide to help you get the glass correct. And a view from the interior here. The glass, you're mostly just stepping in like that on the sides there. And we'll go around here and go up 2 more blocks. Have the ribbing done like you see here. Give you a good long look at this because it's a very complicated shape to do. I'll give you an overhead view and a side view. And if you need to, you can just take a look at this in the downloaded files. Because I think even for me, this would be a little hard to replicate. And a view from the side here. And the curve of the glass is going up like that. So with that done, we are now almost done. I think actually this is the last phase of the hexagonal dome. So we're now on this last 2 block section up here. So I'll give you a look at that. And it should be that all your hexagonal sections will meet at the top here. And when you look at it from the top, you can see that it's made out of hexagons, which of course makes it cool because everything in the future is of course made from hexagons. And give you a look at the completed building along here. So that should be the completed hexagonal domed room. We covered the multi-purpose room and the cyclops submarine today. So that pretty much just about finishes everything except for the rocket. And also as a bonus here, I'm including a view of a plesiosaur model that I've constructed. I think it's actually smaller than the Reaper Leviathan. But since I was building some sea creatures, I also wanted to have a plesiosaur. Because if you follow my Instagram, you will know that this is my version of the Loch Ness Monster, Nessie. And I added in some sort of purple stripes on him, with sort of like gray skin and purple stripes. I mean, who really knows what they look like? I can always add more texture on these. But this is going to be something that I'll probably just put in my Norath world instead of including it in the Subnautica series. But there will be a download for this just on its own at some point. But that's going to be all the time we have for today. I think this was kind of a long one. So I hope you are enjoying the Subnautica tutorial series, and I think next time we will tackle the Neptune rocket, which is it's so big and complicated, it's going to be just that build in that video. And as always, everything I've showcased today and pretty much everything else that I have to show to you, including the rocket and the Atlas submarine, are also now available for download. So, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.